Cada unos segundos en transmitir, ¿verdad? En el en vivo, en el YouTube.
Sí, bueno, en cuanto ya le des transmitir, ya debería de.
Ok. Bueno, ¿qué tal? Buenas noches. Estamos transmitiendo en vivo. ¿Sí lo escuchan?
Sí.
Buenas noches, una transmisión más de Viva Club México, para todas las partes de aquí de México. Estamos hoy con Jeremy Reeves de Cornell Diehl. Un gusto tenerlo por estas transmisiones, para que nos pueda hablar sobre sus mezclas, sobre su trabajo en Cornell Diehl. Mucho gusto, Jeremy. Nice to meet you. Adelante, por favor, Jesús.
Good to meet you too.
Okay, he's introducing all the people and welcome you to this session, and thank you for being part of it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Gracias, muchas gracias por invitarme.
Gracias por aceptar esta invitación, y nos gustaría que nos platicara un poco sobre quién es Jeremy Reeves y cómo entró a la empresa Cornell Diehl. ¿Cómo es que entra a la empresa? Por favor.
Okay, first we want to get to know you, who are Jeremy Reeves, and how did you get into the in the business and the industry?
Sure. So I moved to Chicago when I was 19 or so, and I got interested in cigars, and so I started kind of dabbling in cigars here and there, and then a little while later, I actually had a friend who worked at a cigar shop who got me a job there. And when I started working at the cigar shop, it went from being like cigars are cool to more than that, where cigars are cool, but really different kinds of people, people from sort of all walks of life seem to come together over cigars. And yeah, our shop was just a really interesting sort of crossroads for a lot of different kinds of folks, people who maybe would never have been friends any other way, or connected in the way that they did.
Okay, all right. Él está diciendo que él se mudó a Chicago más o menos a la edad de los 18 años, en su mayoría de edad, y empezó por un amigo a trabajar en una tienda de cigarros, en una shop. Y él empezó a ver que dijo, pues realmente él vio los cigarros y dijo, los cigarros realmente pues son cool, son interesantes, pero empezó a ver que mucha gente alrededor de los cigarros empezaba a reunirse y que era gente de diferentes con diferentes antecedentes, de diferentes comunidades, y eso fue lo que fue interesante para él. And how do you get in the industry, and what motivated you?
Really, I mean, at the start of that, it was just like I needed a job and I was interested in cigars, so I thought it'd be cool to work at a shop where I could maybe get, some free smokes every once in a while, or at least get an employee discount. But then getting that job, like the human connection factor was something that I hadn't really thought about. And that really made it different for me. It made it more like, oh, like this is a this is a place where people connect, not just our shop, but tobacco in general. And I started meeting people who worked not in retail, but worked in the tobacco side of the industry. I started meeting cigar manufacturers, and distributors, and people who were more in the tobacco industry rather than just selling stuff, and started really seeing that this wasn't just our shop, that this was like something about the tobacco culture, that it was warm and it was friendly and it was relational, it was relationship driven. And that's kind of what made me want to be more involved in the industry.
Ok, muy bien, comenta. Lo que hizo envolverse en la industria del cigarro es la cultura del tabaco en sí, que viene siendo las conexiones humanas, todo lo que ofrece de ellos. Él empezó en una tienda de cigarros, una sencilla tienda retail le llaman. Ahí empezó, pero empezó a conocer gente, a relacionarse con distribuidores, con consumidores y grupos, y ahí es donde vio que dijo, oh, realmente hay conexiones, hay le llamó él que era la gente cálida, la gente era amable, muy amistosa, y fue algo que le gustó y lo motivó a hacer lo que ha estado haciendo.
¿Y cuándo fue que empezaste con la pipa? ¿Y cómo llegaste a Cornell Diehl y eventualmente llegaste a ser el maestro mezclador? When did you started with as a pipe smoker?
Mm-hmm.
And then how was, or how did you arrive to Cnd and eventually become the blender, the master blender in there?
Sure. So at the first cigar store that I worked at, we had a sales rep for Lane Tobacco, and his name was Jeff Moran, and Jeff lived in Chicago. He rented his apartment from the owner of the shop that I worked for, and so I got to be friends with him. He was a pipe smoker, not a cigar smoker. And one day he came into the shop and he basically told me that he thought I was wasting my time and my talents smoking cigars, because in his words, you love this tobacco stuff too much to be wasting your time with cigars. You should be smoking a pipe. It's better. So that's what he told me. So he gave me a pipe. He gave me a Stanwell sandblasted billiard, and he gave me some different tobaccos to try. And he taught me a little bit about how to pack the pipe and how to light it and things. And so I started, kind of working the pipe into my smoking routine. I would mostly smoke cigars, but occasionally I would smoke a pipe. I sucked at it. I was not very good at pipe smoking starting out. And cigars are a lot more user friendly, and they certainly sold more. So I tended to smoke cigars because it was easier to smoke a cigar while talking to a bunch of people in a cigar shop. But the challenge of the pipe was something that kind of made it stick with me. I think that I was not good at it made me keep trying. And I'm kind of stubborn that way. If there's something I'm not good at, rather than ignoring it entirely, I tend to kind of mess with it until I figure it out, if at all possible. And so, yeah, for whatever reason, the pipe did that for me. It was something that was more like I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to challenge myself and figure this out. Later on, I ended up getting a job at Reeves, which is a very old family-owned tobacco shop in Chicago that is much more pipe-focused and pretty world-famous for their pipe selection and for their pipe-centric business model. And working at Reeves was really that was the point where I transitioned to a full-fledged pipe smoker who occasionally smoked cigars rather than being a cigar smoker who occasionally smoked pipe. At that time, I discovered Cornell Diehl tobacco. This was 2006. So at that time, I started smoking a lot of Cornell Diehl products and basically stopped caring very much about a lot of the other European tobaccos and the pipe tobaccos that I had previously been smoking. There was something about Cornell Diehl that really appealed to me. It was the down home quality. It was the natural tobacco flavor. So I transitioned to pipe smoking, but at that time I also became really a big fan of Cornell Diehl. You probably want to translate some of this and then I can continue my story. I know I talk a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like Jeremy and Jesus, if we can do blogs, so you can translate, and please, Jesus, write notes on what Jeremy is saying, so you can translate to all of us, and who doesn't understand English can completely understand the philosophy and the whole history of Jeremy.
Got it. Okay, mire, comenta Jeremy que al principio con la pipa él no era muy bueno, batalló mucho, de hecho batalló con la pipa, y ese era uno de sus problemas que lo desafiaba, que por eso fumaba cigarros. Pero él mismo se desafió y dijo, se lo planteó de proponérselo, porque le regalaron una pipa estándar y diferentes tipos de tabaco y no tenía la información, no tenía el conocimiento y realmente fue muy difícil para él, por eso se regresaba a consumir el cigarro. Pero ya después entró a trabajar a una muy prestigiosa firma, Corner, no recuerdo el nombre exacto, pero
estuvo trabajando en E1. La compañía es E1, que es un estanco muy antiguo de Chicago, muy famoso.
Ok, sí, en E1. Pero después entró a Corner ¿Corner en qué es?
Cornell Diehl.
Cornell Diehl. Y ahí es realmente donde entendió muchas de las cosas y pudo desafiarse y llegar al conocimiento, dominarlo y que fue ya más para él gratificante, más que nada, ¿no? Y a partir de ahora vamos a hacer un pequeño de bloques bloques de preguntas más concretas para poder entender y traducir mejor.
Yo, si necesitas, te puedo ayudar también en parte de la traducción, si quieres que la hagamos simultánea o algo.
Sí, entre todos, adelante.
I got a question for you. I'm going to ask in Spanish and then I'll tell you, so I can help them out with the translation.
Sure.
Because I know more about you than they probably know. I know you've been in Portland, and you probably skipped that part between Chicago, Portland, and then North Carolina at the time.
Yes, that's right.
Entonces, lo que le pasaba a él es, Fire, no sé tu nombre porque no lo pone ahí, pero bueno, la traducción es muy buena lo que has dicho. Entonces, lo que hizo fue, trabajó corriendo en una de las estancos, luego en E1, estuvo 6 años, y antes de ir a Cornell Diehl, y esto es porque lo sé, porque lo ha hablado en otros sitios, se fue a vivir a Portland, Oregon, y ahí trabajó también en otro estanco, y luego de ahí se fue a North Carolina para trabajar en Cornell Diehl. And I know the reason. You're a Burley lover, and that's why Ned was doing great Burley blends at that time.
That's right. That is a part of it. But I liked everything that I tasted from them. I really enjoyed all of the Peas English blends. I enjoyed a lot of the C&D English blends. I enjoyed their Virginias. The Virginias really stuck out to me, actually. And I know a lot of people find them too different from the traditional European Virginia pipe tobaccos. But to me, Cornell Diehl's approach to Virginia was super naturalistic. And as I've gotten to work with the the tobacco industry more, I see that the way that we accomplish that is by just using Virginia and not putting stuff on it.
Because you guys do everything so natural with less casing. And that's what I love about your blends. If you compare with the K&K, that they put some casing.
Yeah, that's correct.
Adelante, Jesús.
Pues realmente aquí yo me perdí un poquito en lo que estaba comentando porque el compañero conoce un poco más ahí del casing.
Te ayudo yo si quieres en lo que tú no sepas.
Sí,
lo que
adelante.
él ha dicho, Jeremy es muy amante, por ejemplo, de los Burleys. Él hace muchas versiones y tabacos con Burley. Entonces, el antiguo mezclador de Cornell Diehl era un portento, sabía mucho hacer muchas combinaciones con Burley. Pero Jeremy dice que le gustan tanto Laraquías, pero sobre todo lo que más le gusta de Cornell Diehl son los Virginias, la cantidad de buenos Virginias que tiene, de dónde los consiguen, la potencialidad que tiene el Virginia para ser trabajado. Eso es lo que le gusta a él.
Vale, gracias. Jeremy, ¿cuál fue la primer mezcla de tabaco que hiciste? What was the first tobacco blend you made?
The first blend that I made,
Yeah,
was a blend that I made at home. I decided that I wanted to try my hand at making a Virginia Perique and at making a Latakia blend, but I wanted to use cigar leaf. And I had tried a few different cigar blends, and I wasn't getting the flavor out of them that I really wanted. And so I decided to buy a particular cigar that I was really, really fond of, and cut the cigar up with scissors, cut it into little coins, and so I had some blending Virginia, and I had a couple of Burley flakes and Bright Virginia flakes that I used. Like, I rubbed them out and basically used them as blending components. And I bought some blending Perique, and so that was my first blend. I put it in a jar, I boiled some water, and I set the jar down in it and cooked it for an hour in boiling water to seal the jar, and then I left it for like 3 months. And that jar, the remnants of that were one of the things that came with me when I moved to South Carolina, and it was one of the things that ended up being part of my resume, I guess, that made folks at Laudisi think, maybe he should work at Cnd. So.
Pues comenta ahí que la primera mezcla que hizo fue con Virginia y algunas marcas ahí que mencionó que no domino, pero ahorita me podrán complementar, pero que no le estaba sacando realmente el sabor que quería. Y así que tuvo que hacer él ingeniárselas, hacer un experimento, y agarró un cigarro y lo cortó con tijeras en rodajas como monedas, dice, y las depositó en una jarra, lo calentó el agua, hizo su mezcla interesante hasta que salió, y eso es esa fue parte de su currículum, esa mezcla que hizo, por lo que tuvo éxito.
Bien, muchas gracias.
Y Cornell Diehl es una empresa pues bastante grande, ¿no? Con mucha historia, pero en un nivel muy alto. ¿Qué nos podría resumir de la historia de Cornell Diehl? Jeremy, could you give us a very high level of Cnd background or history?
Yes. So Cornell Diehl was started in 1990 by a retired couple, Craig and Patty Tarler. And basically, Craig had been a pipe smoker. He had been in a line of work where he did PR, and he traveled a lot. And he decided that when he retired that they wanted to start a pipe tobacco business. So they found a man who actually owned a defunct pipe tobacco manufacturing brand. They hadn't done anything with it. The man just owned the rights to this company. He owned the name, he owned some pieces of equipment, and he had some pipe tobacco recipes. And this was for a company called Atlas Tobacco Company, and they were around about 125 years ago. And so Craig and Patty bought this company, bought the Atlas brand and bought the recipes and some of the equipment that came with it. And they started buying blending components, mostly made by Lane, McClellan, Sutliff, and started producing their own blends. And they were profitable within the first year. They were running it out of their house. And so this was a very, very small niche operation. And they gained a following, and eventually from 1990 to 2005, they just had the business taking over more and more of their house. And then in 2006, they got their first actual building, and built a factory inside this building, and increased their equipment, and were able to store more tobacco on hand and things. And they started processing more of their own tobacco. They were processing everything, but they were able to process much more. So they were able to grow quite a bit. In 2012, Craig passed away, and he and Patty had been longtime friends of Sykes Wilford, owner of Laudisi Enterprises and SmokingPipes.com. Some of you may be familiar. So Sykes and Craig had talked on again, off again, about the possibility of some sort of business partnership, but it had never been the right time. But when Craig passed away, the Tarler family, approached Sykes and said, "We would like to merge with Laudisi," and so talk started at that time, and it was announced January 1st of 2014 that Cornell Diehl became part of the Laudisi family of companies. That was right at the time that I had moved from Portland, Oregon to North Carolina, to Wilmington, and was working in customer service. I was a brand new hire at Smoking Pipes in customer service. And so the plan was that a year later, Cornell Diehl would be relocating from Morganton, North Carolina, where they had been since 1992, down to Long, South Carolina, where the rest of the business was, where the rest of Smoking Pipes and Laudisi Distribution Group was located. And when they relocated, the head blender, Ted Connolly, was not going to be relocating. He was 78 years old and wanted to retire. And so they knew that they would be looking for a new head blender. And so one day Sykes came to my cubicle and was like, "Hey, Jeremy, you got a second to talk?" I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, all right, let's go back here. And I walked into this office, and Chris Tarler, Craig's son, is there. And my manager, Josh, is sitting there. And Sykes sits down and just kind of looked at me and said, so how would you like to work at Cornell and Diehl? And I was ecstatic. So that's how Cornell and Diehl kind of grew and transitioned, how they came to be part of the Laudisi family of companies, and ultimately how I became involved.
Jeremy, this is Gerardo. Let's try to. I'm very into your whole talk, because I understand it, but I know the most of the people on this talk doesn't understand English. So let's try to do like blocks, small blocks, so they can get involved with this brief history that I think is very interesting, and I love it, you know, and I think your way through until you get to where you are right now is very interesting, and I will try to through our translator, our people from no English speaking know that. So please, if you can help us do like blocks, so so Jesus and the other one is helping us can do like the essential production, so we can transmit that to our people.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I will do better about that.
That's okay. I'm very into your talking, so maybe that's why I didn't interrupt. But I know that our translator is kind of getting behind, so that's why I asked for that.
Yes, yep.
Ok, pues estamos aquí en la idea de Gerardo, que prácticamente yo también estaba tomando notas rapidísimo. Tratar de no perder la historia muy interesante que nos trae a todos les va a interesar, pero vamos a tratar de aquí en adelante de hacer bloques un poquito más cortos para no perder la esencia. Él nos contaba que desde 1990 Greg y Patty, ellos compraron los derechos de una compañía de tabaco y realmente empezaron comprando componentes de mezclas para hacer las propias, y desde el 2005 hasta el 2005 ellos estaban en su casa todavía, estaban haciendo realmente su negocio era en su propia casa, y hasta el 2006, desde el 1990 hasta el 2006 fue cuando realmente ponen su primera oficina, su primer establecimiento ya formal, y de ahí empezaron una serie de fusiones y transiciones con más empresas hasta donde él llegó, y se tuvo que cambiar de Portland, moverse y hasta donde le llegan y le dicen que si quería ser el head blender, que le llaman ahí, que es el jefe de mezclador, jefe de mezclas, no sé cómo lo mencionen ustedes, pero vamos a tratar de hacer un poco más cortos los bloques para que nos quede más completa la historia.
Ok, y bueno, Cornell Diehl es una empresa pues bastante grande que hace sus propias mezclas y tiene una gran gama de labores, pero también manufactura tabacos para otras marcas. ¿Cuáles son esas marcas que manejan y cuál es como que la más complicada? Cnd has a huge production of tobacco, and tobaccos that are made for your own or by your own brand, but also you manufacture tobacco for other brands. From those brands, which are those brands and which is like the most complicated to work with?
Of the brands that we produce?
Yeah.
Which is the most complicated to work with?
Yep.
I'm not sure that there is one that's more complicated. They're all unique. So the brands that we manufacture for are GLPs, Briarworks, Warped, Two Friends, Captain Earl's. I feel like there's something I'm missing.
Two Friends.
Castell, I guess.
did say Two Friends. Yeah, is there somebody else I'm missing there? I don't think so. I think I got it.
Bueno, lo que estaba comentando Jeremy eran las marcas a las que ellos les manufacturan tabaco, que básicamente fueron las que nombró, que muchos de nosotros las conocemos. No sé si alguien tenga alguna pregunta o quiera consultar algo. Jorge, adelante.
Buenas noches, ¿cómo están? Un gusto estar con ustedes. Hola Jeremy, especialmente. Lamentablemente no hablo inglés. Una pregunta que yo siempre quise hacerle a un blender es si alguna vez le toca hacer una mezcla que no sea de su agrado, es por encargo tal vez, ¿cómo lo hace?
Well, Jorge is sending you his greetings. He sorry because he does not speak English, but anyway, he has a question for you, and he is asking you as a master blender or as a blender, have you ever received or have you ever been asked to manufacture a tobacco that when you try it, you actually don't like that tobacco, but that tobacco complies with the specifications of the person that asked it for. And if you can talk about that experience when you have to do a tobacco that you don't like, but the person that asked you to do that tobacco enjoys that tobacco.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there are definitely styles of tobacco blends that are not necessarily my favorite, or that I'm not particularly into, but it's the same way with food, and I have a pretty broad appreciation of food, and even when a particular food is not my thing, I can understand why, or at least I try to understand why it might appeal to someone else. I do the same thing with tobacco. So if I'm developing a blend, I'm probably trying to take the request that I've been given and create something that I personally think is good that also fulfills the specificities of that request. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Jesús, ¿nos ayudas con la traducción?
Sí, comenta que hay diferentes estilos que no necesariamente son sus favoritos y hace una comparación, una analogía con lo que es la comida. Igual uno tiene sus comidas favoritas o las que sabe que debe comer, pero tal vez no son sus favoritas o que no le gustan o que le pueden gustar un poco. En esa analogía, dice que es lo mismo con el tabaco, no necesariamente te tiene que gustar, pero al final de cuentas nos comenta que él ha hecho algunas mezclas donde trata de hacerlas que él crea que son buenas y son buenas para la gente, aunque no necesariamente le gusten a él y está de acuerdo.
I'll tack on to that answer that one good example is there was a tobacco shop in another country that approached us and asked us to create a series of mostly aromatic tobaccos for them to replace tobaccos that they no longer could import to the area where they were. And one of those was a cherry blend, which I don't particularly care for cherry flavored tobaccos. But of course, there are a lot of cherry flavored tobaccos, and it's because there are a lot of cherry flavored tobacco pipe smokers. People enjoy it. So that was my first time developing a cherry aromatic, and it was an interesting challenge to try and make a style of tobacco that I don't particularly care for personally, but to try and make something that I thought really tasted good, and that would also have, I think, broad appeal. So that's one example of the time when I was asked to do something I wasn't really excited about, but that was my approach. And ultimately I enjoyed the blend. Like ultimately I ended up with some of it, and I still enjoy smoking it.
Ok. Nos comenta, terminando yo de explicar, se acordó, recordó un ejemplo claro de eso, de lo que le preguntó nuestro compañero aquí, y nos dice que en un tiempo una compañera extranjera se acercaron a ellos para que les manufacturaran productos aromáticos, mezclas aromáticas y particularmente del cherry, que viene siendo aquí cereza, ¿no? Y él nos comenta que él particularmente no le gusta, no tiene ninguna afección ni es para nada fanático de ella, pero realmente al hacer y cumplir las especificaciones del cliente, realmente lo hizo lo mejor que pudo y al final de cuentas lo probó incluso y no se le hizo malo, pero realmente no le gusta, no es de su total interés, pero lo ha tenido que hacer por solicitud de los clientes. Ok.
En México a nadie le gusta el cherry. By the way, in Mexico, everybody hates cherry tobaccos.
Oh, really?
Jeremy, ¿cuánto
Yes.
tiempo te lleva hacer una mezcla de tabacos? A ver, Jesús, por favor.
How long do you take to make a blend of tobacco?
You mean in terms of inventing a blend?
Pregunta si en términos de inventar una mezcla o hacer una mezcla ya.
Sí, crear una mezcla desde cero.
Okay, create a blend starting from zero. An invention.
Okay, that can really take almost any amount of time. I have had instances where I had an idea for a blend and it took me months to really get it the way that I saw it or experienced it in my head. I've also had the experience of putting together a blend and basically being pleased with it on the first or second try. So that's much more rare. I usually have to go through several rounds of blends, like iterations of a blend before I get it right. But I have had the experience of just being really happy on the first try or second try.
Oh, but in terms in time, how long do you think?
Typically, I would say that it is a process of at least a month or so. But I've certainly had experiences where it took a lot longer than that. In fact, one blend that I was working on took me about 2 years before I finally got it where I wanted it.
Okay, is that the Sunbear?
It was not Sunbear. Sunbear actually came together pretty quickly because I was really familiar with the flavor of our honey, and I had a pretty clear image in my head of what I wanted that blend to be. And so that was actually one of the ones that came together relatively quickly. Not first or second try, but I think we ended up with on 6 or 7 iterations, and
I recall you allowed me to try that one on Columbus.
Yes.
2 years ago, 2019 or 18, don't recall. And you allowed me to try the version 3 and the version 4. And you finally made the 5th one, I believe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And
your micro is off.
Sorry, pardon. What I meant is that the 3rd version and the 4th version you allowed me to try, when you try the 5th and last one, they were like alike, but totally different. And I love that.
Yeah.
You can make 5 different blends of that. Well, lo que le estaba preguntando es a mí me gusta mucho la versión del tabaco Samber que hace, que tiene Virginia, Bashma e Izmir de distintos años. Y cuando estuvimos en Columbus en persona, tuvo el detalle de dejarme probar la versión 3 y la 4 de lo que estaba haciendo hasta que sacó el producto final. Y le estaba diciendo que la versión 3 y 4 estaban muy ricas, pero cuando pruebas la 5 dije, son como el día y la noche. Son parecidas, pero no se parecen. Y otra cosa, esto, a ver, ¿dónde está aquí?
¿Quién tradujo lo que preguntamos?
Manuel Arteaga tenía una pregunta, ¿vale? Manuel is asking you from all the Lovecraft different blends that you have created, I think 5, 6, 7 now. Which one has been the funniest one to create and why? Or the most challenging?
The most challenging of those to create was probably Visions of Cellophase, which is a blend that utilizes grape wine flavoring alongside some tobaccos that maybe you wouldn't expect to be used in an aromatic, and maybe that you wouldn't expect to accompany the flavor of sweet red wine. It's spicy and earthy and just has a really, really interesting sort of character, but it took me several tries to get that right. Another one that was a lot of fun and really interesting to kind of experiment with was the development of Mad Fiddler Flake. And that has a secret sauce on it that I'll not divulge here, but creating the secret sauce was one of my more mad scientist moments, I think.
Manuel, lo que dice, ¿has oído, Manuel, cuáles ha dicho los dos nombres? Lo que dice es que en la primera, lo importante es que era una especie de aromático, pero también tenía otros sabores algo picantes. Y lo más difícil y divertido de esa mezcla fue coger sabores de uva para hacer vino y sabores picantes, pero de spicy como no de picante tipo jalapeño, sino como de condimento. Esa era la primera. Y la segunda porque tiene una salsa especial que le rociaron para hacer el topping. ¿Era topping or casing, the second blend?
On Mad Fiddler Flake? Casing.
Casing, vale. Pues era para hacer el casing, que es la base antes de hacer el tabaco. Y lo divertido no fue hacer la labor en sí, sino lo divertido fue hacer el salseado ese para la labor. Are you planning on making new ones from that Lovecraft?
There is a blend that we did for a Chicago pipe show release that I think you'll probably see at some point in the future as a small batch for broader release.
For Chicago next year or for any other place?
No, it'll be just released as a small batch, but it was a blend that we brought to Chicago.
Okay.
It was just a Chicago show release from Beyond. I don't know if you tried it.
I tried that one.
Yeah. So it was a small batch, but it was definitely a part of the Lovecraft series kind of ethos and yeah.
Okay, thanks. So Manuel, lo que dicen esta es que sí tienen una más preparada que la habían hecho para la fumada de Chicago de este año, para principios de mayo. Lo que pasa es que como se ha cancelado la fumada de Chicago, lo que van a hacer, en vez de hacerla para el año que viene, van a sacarla como el small batch. ¿Vale? Bien,
Vale,
espero haber contestado todas las preguntas que tú tenías.
Nada más que no terminó la de, gracias, la de ¿cuánto tiempo?
Sí, de hecho estaba esperando que terminara las colaboraciones aquí para comentarles las preguntas específicas que hizo Alberto sobre los tiempos. Nos comentó que es muy complejo crear una mezcla empezando desde cero. Tiene las ideas, a veces toma tiempo aterrizarlas y a veces trae la idea de lo que quiere hacer, pero no cómo llegar a ello desde que está de cero. Y nos comenta que es muy complejo, pero mínimo en términos de tiempo, mínimo un mes le lleva a crear una mezcla. Y ha tenido casos muy específicos, como en el que nos comentaba que le tomó más de un año y le preguntaron ahí por ella y no por una, y no era la que ustedes decían, pero sí puede llevar desde un mes hasta un año o más incluso. Y en esa particularmente que le preguntaron si había sido la que le tomó más tiempo, que dijo que no, que dijo esa que le preguntaron, no recuerdo el nombre, no lo alcancé a escribir, comenta que ya traía la idea muy clara y fue muy fácil. A lo contrario que ustedes conocedores le preguntaron sobre esa, dijo que esa ya la traía en la cabeza muy clara la idea y le fue muy fácil y rápida de desarrollar.
Okay, well, we have Didac from Spain. He has a question. Also, Nicolás from Chile, Cigar Boss, has another question, and Paola de Hacha has another question too.
Okay,
Adelante,
sure.
Didac.
Bueno, primero un agradecimiento. Thanks for this, Jeremy. Me ha alegrado el 2021.
Awesome. You're very welcome. Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
Me gustaría preguntarle, porque él ha explicado un poco cómo comenzó y demás, pero siempre como hay un punto de no retorno, ¿no? Y en qué momento él supo que ser un blender de tabacos de pipa era su camino, ¿no? Si fue con una mezcla, si fue cuando ya estaba encima del proyecto antes. Entonces, tengo interés en saber eso.
Okay, the question right here is a pretty interesting question for you. He's saying that you already talk about how did you start in the business and everything, but there's always a no look back point and no return. At what moment did you know that being a master blender, it was your passion and your definitive job? At what point?
Sure.
Your master career.
I don't know. I guess when it happened, I was like, this could really be a thing. And then through the course of traveling back and forth from South Carolina up to North Carolina to learn everything that was going on at Cornell Diehl in Morganton, yeah, I really came to love it. I really came to love the process. There's a lot of analogies that I could make between pipe tobacco production and working in a busy kitchen that has a lot going on. And
we can say that you didn't realize that you at the moment you were involved. Okay, pues lo que dice que no se dio cuenta cuándo fue el punto de no este retorno. No se dio cuenta, fue en un momento en el que estuvo del norte de Carolina hacia el sur de Carolina, viajando de ida y vuelta y conociendo más del proceso, que yo lo entendí como de que no se dio cuenta y de repente ya estaba envuelto en esta profesión. Pero realmente no se dio cuenta, no tiene una marca específica de cuándo decidió que ya no había retorno.
Sí, en esencia, en esos viajes de ida y vuelta entre Carolina del Norte y Carolina del Sur, pues poco a poco se fue enamorando del proceso de ser mezclador. Pero exactamente el momento en el que, cuál fue el punto de no retorno, no hay como tal, no lo tiene identificado.
Y lo envolvió la profesión y cuando menos pensó ya estaba en ello. No hay un momento determinante, pero sí, muy, muy buena pregunta.
Yo creo que como muchos de nosotros de repente te das cuenta que al mirar atrás ya hay una trayectoria, ya hay algo, ya estás haciendo algo que te encanta, ¿no? Entonces es un tipo, así como lo entiendo de lo que comenta Jeremy. Jeremy, if you allow me, I say, as a lot of us, we just go through this track, and once you know, you look behind and say, oh, I'm here now. You know, you don't really realize that much you have you know, evolutionate until you look back and say, oh, I'm here. You know, so that's
Yes.
what I understand. So a lot of us, it happened to a lot of us. So I think it's great how you illustrated that you go to one point to another, and then you're there. You know, that's good.
Thank you.
Adelante, Nicolás.
Hi, I'm Nicolas from Chile. I'm here with Michel Texier.
Hello.
And I want to ask you,
very good.
Were you involved in this beauty? This is my favorite, our favorite tobacco from Cornell Diehl. Were you involved in this beauty? And what is the story behind this tobacco?
Sure. So Pirate Cake was before my time. Craig Tarler developed Pirate Cake, and he developed that blend several years before I came to work at Cornell Diehl. I actually don't know when Pirate Cake was first developed, but it was well established by the time I came to work at Cornell Diehl. That said, the label that you're pointing to on the 8-ounce tin that you've got there was designed by our marketing team, and that tin would certainly have been produced within the time frame that I could have, depending on the day, I could have put the tobacco in that tin. But I didn't develop the blend.
But you probably do the opposite. You put 75% of Burley, 25% of Laraquia if it was to your own taste. I know.
That might be true. That might be true.
Lo que preguntó Nicolás era cuál era la historia detrás de Pirate Cake y si ese tabaco había sido mezclado por Jeremy. Y lo que comenta Jeremy es que esa mezcla es anterior a él. Esa mezcla ya estaba antes de que llegara. Que de hecho la presentación que tiene Nicolás pues fue desarrollada por el equipo de marketing y bueno, actualmente la producción, obviamente él está detrás de eso, pero originalmente la mezcla no viene de él y dependiendo de la fecha de la lata, pudiera o no haber sido mezclada por él. Pau, adelante.
Hola, sí, yo quisiera hacer una pregunta. Mi inquietud es cómo logras a llegar a plasmar esas ideas de sabores que tienes en la cabeza al producto, o sea, cómo lo proyectas ahí, cómo haces para que esos sabores queden proyectados en ese tabaco. Esa es mi pregunta.
Okay, the question for you right now is that when you have your ideas in your head, how do you do to put those ideas in the final product? How do you do that process? Is it difficult?
It can be. It depends on what the idea is. Like if I'm trying to develop a blend that I don't intend to have any sort of casing or flavoring, I mean, I spend a lot of time smoking all of our individual components, and I have a mental image of kind of what those flavors are. I know what our Red Virginia tastes like, and I have a pretty good grasp of what it can do in a blend. I have that same sort of mental image, that same sort of mental concept for the flavor profiles of all of our tobaccos, and so I think it's usually pretty easy if it's not something that I'm planning on flavoring. but getting the flavor, if I'm using a flavor and getting that flavor to come across the way that I want to, can be really difficult. Or marrying a blend of tobaccos with a particular casing that is designed to accentuate those particular tobaccos. Getting those things to jive right can be very difficult.
Ok, nos comenta que para desarrollar sus mezclas, y depende mucho, no es o muy difícil o muy fácil hacerlo, depende mucho si tiene la intención de hacer el casing o saborizarlo. Dependiendo de esas cosas, si no tiene la intención de poner sabores ahí, puede ser muy fácil, pero ya cuando quiere juntar lo que llaman el casing o el flavoring, ahí es cuando se puede complicar un poquito en darle exactamente el punto que él quiere.
If I'm blending with unflavored tobaccos, if I put together the blend in the proportions that I think will evoke the flavor that I'm looking for and I miss that, it's kind of like when you're cooking and you didn't put enough salt, or it needs lime juice, or it's way too spicy. It's those kinds of things. And so figuring out how to bring forward or dial back the flavors, basically you're trying to accomplish a balance with pipe tobacco, just like you are with putting together food. You want a balance of salt and fat and citrus and acid. It's the same thing with pipe tobacco. You want flavors that are going to hit all of the different areas of your palate that experience sweet and bitter and you want a flavor that has cohesion, the same way in food.
Ok, nos hace una analogía muy parecida a como cuando se está cocinando realmente. Menciona como cuando te pasas un poquito de sal o necesita un toque de limón, o te queda o no te queda, que hay que ir hacia atrás o hay que ponerle un poco más. Es lo mismo, nos menciona que es lo mismo con los sabores y con todo, igual que con los tabacos de pipa, que él trata de llegar hasta que toque todos tus sentidos, todos tus tactos, y es realmente eso, es muy complicado en cuestión de darles esos toques, porque a veces puede ser un poquito más, un poquito menos, de todo, como cuando cocinas.
Jorge Guilio, adelante.
Sí, tal vez es una pregunta de principiante como lo soy. ¿Resfriado puede desempeñar su labor o eso lo inhibe para hacer su trabajo?
Okay, he's saying that this may be a beginner's question, but he's asking if you are with the flu, is it hard to work like that, or it's complicated for you, or it doesn't matter?
If I'm sick with the flu, is it hard for me to do my job?
Yeah.
If I'm sick, I don't smoke. And if I'm not smoking, I can't develop a blend. I can do other things for my job, but if I'm working on a blend and I get sick, I stop working on it until I get through the sickness, because trying to smoke when I can't taste or when I can't smell does me no good, and it just makes me stay sick longer.
Definitely not possible.
Right.
Okay. No, nos comenta que cuando está contagiado no es imposible, no puede estar fumando y no poder estar teniendo el aroma, es imposible, definitivamente no se puede.
Comenta sobre todo que no lo hace porque prácticamente te quedas sin paladar, no percibes sabores y aromas, lo que haría muy complicado su trabajo, entonces prefiere no hacerlo. Y bueno,
Sí.
Manuel Artaga tiene otra pregunta. Comenta, de todas las mezclas de Small Batch, ¿cuál ha sido la que en tu opinión te ha gustado más su evolución con el tiempo? Manuel Artaga is asking, from the Small Batch blends that you have, which is the one that you have enjoyed the most, and which is the one that has evolved more or better with the time?
The one that I personally enjoy the most, I'm hard pressed to choose between Carolina Red Flake and Sun Bear, but I think I would have to choose Sun Bear because it was such a personal blend, such a personal experience, being able to use honey from the beehives that my girlfriend and I keep to be able to create a tobacco blend, and to be able to kind of showcase something that I had made in my own life outside of work in my work life was really special to me and to us. The one that has changed the most with time, right now, I would say Carolina Red Flake. I've got 10s from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. And the 2016 10s that I have are delightful. I can't wait to see what they're like in another decade.
What is the name of the other one? Sun
Bear.
Sun Bear. Okay, thanks. Manuel comenta que, bueno, definitivamente él se queda con Sunbreak y, bueno, esa es la que más disfruta, la que más le ha agradado, pero definitivamente la que añeja mejor o la que ha evolucionado mejor con el tiempo es Carolina Red Flake. Comenta que tiene ahí varias labores del 2016, 2017, 2018, 2020. Y la versión del 2016 es la que sin duda es la mejor hasta ahora. Entonces, la que mejor añeja sería Carolina Red Flake.
Ok, gracias. ¿Con qué tabaco?
Yo tengo varias preguntas. Bueno, Alberto, dale tú.
¿Con qué tabaco es el con el que más le gusta hacer mezclas? ¿Con Orleys, Virginias, orientales?
Okay. Alberto is asking, which tobacco is your favorite to blend? If you enjoy, or which tobacco you enjoy working the most? Virginia, Latakia, Burley, etc.
I really enjoy working with Virginias. I really enjoy working with Oriental. Virginia, I particularly like working with because it is so versatile, and because it is unique enough, or it can be unique enough to stand on its own, but it also creates the backbone for a lot of my favorite blends. Oriental is another really interesting and very versatile leaf, but Oriental is like magical somehow. The way that it engages your sinuses with the flavor, it really can do cool things in just about any style of blend that you choose to use Orientals in. Virginias can fall to the background, and oftentimes that's kind of what they're best at, is just adding a little bit of sweetness, adding a little bit of mellowness. But Orientals, even in small quantities, can really make their presence known in unique ways and create new flavor profiles really interestingly.
Bueno, nos comentaba aquí que particularmente con las, le preguntaron que ha estado trabajando como son los Virginias. Dice que es realmente única, es muy original por sí sola, es original, es buena, es casi se puede decir, es como lo menciona él, el término unique, es lo único. Y también puede crear, con las mezclas puede crear algo interesante, pero con los orientals, que son los otros que mencionó, con esos realmente se pueden hacer más mezclas de calidad, se pueden hacer muchas cosas de igual manera, pero no es tan única como los Virginias, es lo que alcancé a percibir.
Sí, sumando a la traducción que haces, también comenta que, bueno, básicamente los Virginias los utiliza como base en sus tabacos por el dulzor que aportan y la cremosidad que puede dar, pero el oriental te da una gama de sabores un poco más amplios que te inundan más toda la parte de las narinas. Entonces, te da un perfil de sabor diferente el oriental, pero ambos tabacos son los que más disfruta trabajar, con los que más disfruta trabajar. Virginias y orientales.
Okay, muchas gracias. Thank you.
From the tobaccos that you produce at Cnd, which is your favorite one to smoke? And the same question, but with other tobacco which is not produced by Cornell Diehl. Y bueno, lo que pregunto es de los tabacos, ¿cuál es su tabaco favorito que sea de Cornell Diehl? ¿Y cuál es su tabaco favorito que disfrute fumar que no sea de Cornell Diehl? Go ahead, Jeremy. Thanks.
So my favorite Cornell Diehl tobacco to smoke. I mean, Sun Bear.
Difficult question.
Sun Bear is up there. Carolina Red Flake is certainly up there. Of the regular line, I love Speakeasy. I love Opening Night. I love Bayou Morning Flake. Yeah, it's tough for me to say this is my, like, if you ask me what's your desert island, whatever, I'm gonna say I hope I don't live on a desert island where I have to make this decision. You know.
Yeah.
How about the Pegasus? You love that one too.
Pegasus, I do love Pegasus, and I love Old Joe Krantz. I love the Burley Flakes. I love Burley Flake #1. I love Burley Flake #3. I love Burley Flake #5. Yeah, I am a guy who is really all about variety. So having to choose a favorite is like asking me to kill my family or something. You know, it's unthinkable to me. Like, why would I do that when all of these things bring me such joy?
Okay, muy buena respuesta. Pretty good answer. Él está diciendo en este predicamento en el que lo puso prácticamente Carlos, nos comenta que es muy complicado decidir, que hay muchos que realmente disfruta fumar, como son el Opening Night, el Red Flake 2, el 3, el Pegasus, que le comentaron todos ellos, y nos comenta que pues realmente es una decisión muy difícil, y nos hace el comentario a manera de broma que sería muy difícil vivir en una isla desierta donde le tuvieran que hacer tomar esa decisión. Es como decirle, mata a alguien de tu familia, o sea, no quiere quedarse con ninguno cuando todos los disfruta. Realmente no tiene decisión por alguno.
Vale, muchas gracias. Aquí está preguntando Miguel, que saludos desde Barcelona, y que dentro de las mezclas en orientales de Cornell Diehl, ¿cuál recomienda para un novato?
Okay, between the blends of Cornell and Diehl, what do you recommend for a rookie, for a starter?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's a lot that we offer that could appeal to a rookie. I guess I would suggest something like Autumn Evening. A lot of times people who are just starting with pipe smoking really enjoy sweet flavors and sweet aromas. And Autumn Evening is I think a really, really excellent aromatic that actually delivers the flavor that matches the aroma, which is sort of uncommon with aromatic tobaccos, I think. A lot of times they smell one way, but they don't taste that way. And I think Autumn Evening tastes and smells very similar. So that would be one. I would definitely recommend anything that has a lot of Latakia in it as well for a rookie, because Latakia has been fire cured for 6 months. It's basically partially cooked, and so it burns at a lower temperature. So a blend that has a lot of Latakia, like say Orient Express or Pirate Cake or Da Vinci, you're going to be able to puff like a freight train on that tobacco and not have it bite your tongue, not have it cause you any sort of discomfort in your mouth, but it will deliver the flavor that you want in full volume, while you're learning what you like and don't like in pipe tobaccos.
Carlos, ¿me puedes ayudar ahí? Porque no me falló el audio al principio.
Perdón, David, me distraje por acá un momento.
Yo os ayudo. Ahí los que ha dicho son varios. Uno, el Autumn Evening, porque es un aromático, y lo que pasa es que muchas veces lo que él protesta de los aromáticos, que no es muy amante, es que huelen a fresas, pero cuando lo fumas saben a pescado o saben a otra diferente. Entonces, él lo que quiere es un aromático que cuando lo hueles y cuando lo fumas sean idénticos, y eso no pasa mucho con los aromáticos. Eso es el primer tema. Y el segundo que ha dicho es, si se quieren meter en el tema de las, bueno, como decimos nosotros, la taquilla o inglesas, él lo que recomienda son 2 o 3. Ha dicho el Pirate Cake, Da Vinci, y no me acuerdo, I don't remember.
Orient Express.
Yeah, Orient Express, correct. ¿Por qué? Porque tienen mucho olor ahumado del latakia. Entonces, estaba explicando que la latakia, seguro que muchos ya lo sabéis, cómo se hace es, se hace al fuego y se corta con maderas aromáticas, árboles aromáticos. Entonces, se cocina muy lento y se dejan las hojas colgando y los fuegos debajo de las hojas para que hagan todo como de ahumados, hacen como unos ahumados. Entonces, para la gente que está pasando a lo mejor de unos tabacos a otros, gente que pasa de puros, lo que quiere es que hagan, que sean tabacos latakia pero aromáticos, que tengan ese sabor y ese aroma. Esos son 2 que, por ejemplo, puedes recomendar. Aromático por un lado o latakias inglesas con esas 3 en concreto.
Ok, actualmente con la pandemia, acá en toda Latinoamérica y en parte de España, pues se ha visto que ha salido muchos fumadores. Pareciera que incrementó el número de fumadores a raíz de la crisis sanitaria. Pero bueno, eso más bien sacó a la luz todos los que estaban ahí, que no participaban mucho en grupos, y pareciera que eso ha incrementado el mercado. ¿Tú cómo has visto ese impacto de la pandemia sobre la industria del tabaco? And well, this question may lead to a long answer. So if you could please give us like chance, like a little pauses so that we can translate part by part. And well, I was asking which is your, well, in Latin America, from COVID or thanks to COVID, it seems that more smokers have been appearing, but that might lead to I guess more selling on tobacco. So from your opinion, or what's your opinion from the impact that COVID has had on the tobacco industry?
I think that the tobacco industry has definitely experienced some hardships from COVID in terms of shipping delays and import and export difficulties. But overall, most of the people that I know in tobacco industry have actually found that business was better last year than it's been in a long time for a lot of companies, and it was certainly it was our best year to date.
Okay, comenta que ha habido retrasos en las entregas de tabaco, que también en una parte de la distribución, pero en general los productores de tabaco han visto una mejora en las ventas. Y no sé si se me fue algo, David o Jesús.
No, lo ha dicho correcto lo que tú has dicho, que debido al COVID el único problema que han tenido es, primero, la llegada de los tabacos que piden, pues sus Virginias, sus Burleys, toda la hoja que les llega a ellos, o la taquia, a Cornell Diehl, ha tardado más, eso ha sido más lento. Pero como la gente ha trabajado desde casa, por poner un ejemplo, la gente ha fumado más, entonces ha hecho más compras. Entonces, este año, con respecto a otros años anteriores, o incluso el 2021, ha sido superior en venta a lo que ha sido muchos años antes.
Thanks.
Okay, and one more thing about what Carlos was saying about this COVID-19 situation is the perception right here is that with this situation, more people are getting to decide to follow the groups, be involved in this thing and the smoking, and as a part, when people are at home, more people are feeling and encouraged to start. Is that true? Do you feel it that way?
I do. I think that a lot of pipe smokers who maybe they would smoke on the weekend, but during the week, like they were in the office, they were driving truck or doing whatever they did for work, and all of a sudden a lot of them got the opportunity to be at home a lot more. And so that just led to them sitting and smoking pipes more and being on the computer more and shopping online more, and so yeah, I think that the pipe community, like, we couldn't be around each other, right? We couldn't hug, we couldn't be close, and so the internet became a way for us to do that in a new way. And so a lot of people that maybe had never really dabbled in that before joined. A lot of people who did dabble in that, they had more time to invest in that.
Sí, nos comenta otra muy buena observación. En la misma pregunta que hizo Carlos era referente a lo que la situación del COVID-19, del COVID-19, hizo que la gente se uniera más, que se decidiera, esos que ya estaban, que les gustaba a lo mejor un poco, pero no estaban muy envueltos, decidieron, y él está de acuerdo con eso, que la gente tiene más tiempo en sus casas, que trabajó desde casa, incluso comenta que trabajando empezaron a fumar y sí, eso benefició a la industria en general.
A mí me ha pasado lo mismo. Yo soy un mejor caso. Yo he estado trabajando 6-8 meses desde casa y yo vengo a fumar 2-3 pipas por la tarde cuando vuelvo del trabajo después de cenar. Trabajando desde casa me fumaba a lo mejor dos más por el día o después de comer. So what I'm saying is, I'm the best example. I've been working for about 6-8 months from home. I'm a slow smoker, so a bowl like this, I normally smoke 2-3 hours the same bowl. So with 2 pipes is enough normally every night after I come back from work, after dinner, 6. But working from home, I tend to smoke one perhaps at 11 and the other one maybe at 2. So I've been smoking 4-5 bowls every day, including weekends. So I tend to smoke about 15 to 20 pipes. So I'm a good example of what you're saying. More people who only used to smoke on the weekends, perhaps they smoke 5 times a week while they're at work because perhaps their kids are at the school, so he or she has a chance to smoke during the day. Lo que le decía es que yo he sido el mismo ejemplo por eso, que yo tiendo a fumar como mis pipas me duran 2-3 horas, tiendo a fumar solo 2 pipas por la noche, entre semana, unas 15-20 a la semana, y justo trabajando 8 meses desde casa, pues me fumaba igual una a las 11 de la mañana y otra a las 2. Y ya luego hago las habituales.
Muy bien.
Luciano
That's a
tiene
nice
ahí.
looking pipe, by the way, David.
It's a Briarworks.
I thought it might have been. I was going to ask if it was a Briarworks or if it was a Pete Prevost.
It's the Briarworks. It's probably 6-8 years old. It has the nice grain here and the bird's-eye here and here. I love these guys.
Yep, great fellas.
And I love the way they. I'm not a big fan of artisans because they went from 1 year I'm nobody, $200. Next year I go to Chicago once and my pipes are $800. It's like, what are you? You guys didn't improve that much. These guys are awesome. They're humble. These pipes used to be, let's say, $200, $250, and they're still being the same. Like Vermont, same thing. They didn't go from $200 to $1,000 pipe, and it's the same bowl. I like people like that who don't take advantage of the pipe smokers. Lo que le decía es que me ha dicho, oye, pues me gusta tu pipa. Y le he dicho, lo que pasa es que lo que me gusta de estos señores de esta marca, que son gente humilde, que no se han pasado de hacer pipas de $200 y al año siguiente van a Chicago, ya soy famoso, entonces mis pipas valen $1 millón o $1,000. No, llevan haciéndolas así y las hacen perfectas siempre.
Como la pipa de Jorge Diehl que hizo con una lámpara que invirtió muy poco y después ya las va a querer vender en $1,000, ¿no? I'm commenting that what David just said is something that Jorge Diehl is going to do because he made a pipe from a lamp, and I'm commenting that next year he's going to send that pipe in $1,000. But Luciano Quadrini has a question. Adelante, Luciano.
Hey, Jeremy, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. First, I want to thank you for your interview for Tabacos Puros magazine. That was very kind from you. And then I want to ask you, we know that you use your own honey from your own beehives in your blends. I want to know if you use another product from your home for the blends.
No, the honey that we used for Sun Bear is the only thing that I've ever used from my home in a tobacco.
And it's amazing.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy.
La pregunta que le acaban de hacer es acerca de los productos que usa desde su casa. Tenía la duda de que si ha usado más cosas que haya sacado de su cocina particular desde su casa, como la miel que usa para el Sunbear. Y él le contesta que no, que es lo único que ha usado y es algo que resultó sorprendente, pero es lo único que ha usado de su casa. No ha usado nada más.
Not even on the BU?
On what?
On the BU?
No, Bijou, the honey in Bijou was not from, like, I developed Bijou before I started keeping bees. So Red Virginia from 2003, Bright Virginia, Catarini, and a little bit of honey is all that's in that blend. So no, there's nothing from my home in it.
Sí, yo quería hacer varias preguntas, si nos importa, vivir una a una para que conteste y no sea todo muy largo.
Adelante.
La primera precisamente acerca del BU. So my first question, I have 6 or 7 questions for you always. So okay. The first one is about BU because I love it. It's one of my, I'm like you, I'm a Perique Oriental guy. And Virginia, I'm the opposite. It's like Perique Oriental, and then the Virginia is the condiment.
Okay, sure.
I love them so much. So on the BU, it's one of my top 10, like Regent's Flake, even though it's from GLPs. But why don't you make any of these two on 8 ounces? Please make some.
Well, so the 8-ounce tins now under FDA regulation, a size change is they would consider a new product. So Bijou was developed in 2016, right after Chicago, which is where we launched it, Chicago of 2016. As I recall, that's where you bought it first. I think I remember selling it to you that year. Right after we got back from Chicago, FDA regulation of U.S. pipe tobacco manufacturers was announced. I mean, like the week that we got back from Chicago. So yeah, we can't make new sizes very easily. We could make an 8-ounce Bijou, but we would have to submit for that product quantity change to make an 8-ounce 10 to the FDA, and they have an indefinite amount of time to get back with us and approve us making that. And unless we have approval, it would be illegal for us to do.
For some reason, I thought being the same blend doesn't matter if you make 2, 4, or 8 ounces. I didn't thought it was because of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So lo que está diciendo, mi pregunta ha sido, a mí me gusta mucho el Bijou y el Regents Flake. Son dos de mis tabacos favoritos. Entonces, le he preguntado por qué no lo sacan en botes de 8 onzas en vez de 2. Y yo pensaba que siendo el mismo tabaco, ¿qué más da que lo saquen en 2 onzas, en 4, en 6 o en 8? Y me ha contestado que aunque sea la misma labor, las mismas hojas y todo, sacar un producto, cualquier tabaco, en una lata de 2 o en una lata de 8, tendrían que reportarlo a la FDA y tardan mucho en contestarle. Entonces, no les conviene.
Now your microphone's off, David.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I don't know. Thank you for that answer. I don't know if anybody else has more questions. If not, please interrupt me anytime. But
Just one.
Me interrumpís cuando queráis, ¿eh?
Ajá, ahora que mencionó lo de la FDA, que todos odiamos a la FDA, ¿no? Pero regresando al tema del COVID y ahora con la FDA es bien conocida por sus regulaciones, que son muy restrictivas en cuanto al tabaco, pero ahora con COVID-19, ¿qué es lo que se viene con la FDA? ¿Más regulaciones, más restricciones? ¿En qué les ha comentado la FDA? I'm asking, going back to COVID, the COVID topic, and also the FDA that you just mentioned. Everybody hates FDA and its regulations, but anyway. Now with COVID, what is coming from the FDA? Is there more regulations to come, more restrictions, or what has FDA comments about that?
At this point, we don't have any expectation of more regulations. The current regulations are already in place, and we are fully compliant as we are right now. So we had to submit all of our products and everything. The deadline was September 9th of 2020. So we have done everything that the FDA has asked of us at this point, and we have no insight what regulations more they will add, but we don't have any expectation at this time that they will be adding more.
Bueno, nos comenta respecto a la pregunta que acaba de hacer Carlos, con la situación del COVID, ellos no tienen ninguna expectativa de cambios o nuevas reglas de la FDA, y ellos ya se ha cumplido todo lo que les han impuesto, y al 9 de septiembre de 2020 fue la fecha límite y cumplieron con todo, sus productos están en regla y no esperan ningún cambio, todo al parecer hasta ahorita normal.
Pregunta. Okay, gracias. Adelante, Carlos.
Sí, la pregunta, porque yo no sé si estaba contestada en esta respuesta de recién, es ¿qué ha pasado con la fecha de las labores posteriores a 2007?
Carlos is asking what is or what happened with the FDA regulations or restrictions for those blends that came or appeared after 2007.
So basically, if a product was on the market before February 15th, 2007, it can be considered a grandfathered product. But they gave us some pathways to be able to essentially show some relationship between products that were not on the market in February 15th, 2007 to products that were. So they gave us some leeway, some pathways to be able to say, you know, we have this grandfathered product. It's made up of, you know, these 4 tobaccos, and we have another product that came to the market later, but it is substantially the same product. It is substantially similar. You know, maybe the proportions are different, but we're using the same products. If this is okay, why isn't this okay? And so that's kind of the methodology that we've been able to use to keep products that came to the market after that grandfather date on the market.
So if in a way the new blend is related to an old one, it is okay. But if it is a complete different recipe or different ingredients, then it is restricted, right?
That's correct. Well,
okay.
There are other pathways to be able to bring something that is truly of new design to market, but it is costly and it is time consuming. So we're not able to bring out new products the way that we would like to. But we, at this point, have been able to still do what we want to do. We just have to jump through a few extra hoops.
Okay. Lo que comenta es que hay ciertos huecos dentro de las regulaciones de la FDA y prácticamente o básicamente si una labor ya estaba en el mercado durante la época en la que salió la restricción, es decir, 2007 para atrás, esas labores se pueden seguir produciendo y comercializando sin ningún problema. Y si hay alguna labor que se derive de una labor ya vieja, es decir, que tenga los mismos ingredientes o básicamente los mismos tabacos, hay un hueco ahí en las regulaciones de la FDA que les permiten poder sacar esa nueva mezcla al mercado si tiene los ingredientes que tenía la labor anterior, es decir, que esté relacionada con la labor anterior, como si lo heredara, como si fuera una herencia de esa labor. El problema viene cuando los ingredientes son completamente nuevos, es otra receta, y entonces el FDA lo considera como un nuevo producto, y entonces sí hay restricciones. Pero aún así hay ciertos huecos que tienen que checar con sus departamentos legales para ver si esa nueva labor podría salir al mercado o no. Pero siempre hay como huecos de los que se pueden aprovechar para poder seguir sacando labores. Pero básicamente todo lo que estaba en el mercado se sigue produciendo.
Muchas gracias.
De nada.
Go ahead, David.
I got a question. I want to go a little bit behind the beginning of the conversation. When you started working as a blender at Cornell Diehl, do you ever, I know you like challenges and you're strong, the more difficult, the better. But do you ever feel like, man, I'm not good enough for this, I'm going to give up and do other thing? That's my first question. And then the second one is, you've been so good at what you do. Have you ever think quitting and creating your own company, or you depend on people, budget, the machinery you use for the press? And sorry, I would like to create my own company, but I don't have the money, the budget, and the tools to do that, or the people. Lo que le he preguntado son dos cosas. Una, era un poco relacionado con el principio de la conversación. Cuando se le dio la oportunidad de ser el head blender de Cornell Diehl, si con las dificultades que encontró alguna vez pensó en dejarlo, porque esto es demasiado para mí. Y la segunda es, como hace tantos tabacos muy ricos, si alguna vez ha pensado salirse de Cornell Diehl y crear su propia compañía, y a ver qué nos dice. And thank you, by the way.
So yeah, to answer your first question, I think, yeah, the answer to that question is sure. There are days where I'm just like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Like, I'm no good at this. You know, things aren't going right, or you know, I've been struggling with something that I'm trying to accomplish, getting it just right. I think most people have some degree or another of self-doubt. But you know, as a guy who has dealt with depression most of my life, yeah, there's definitely times where I question whether or not I'm good enough to be doing what I'm doing.
I mean, like perhaps, you know, Cornell Diehl, you make the first 5 blends you make and they're not selling as much as the smoking pipes people or Cornell Diehl are expecting from you. So putting so much pressure on you.
I've never felt that. I've never felt that from the team of people that I work with. And I'm definitely not making decisions about blend development isolated, you know. I'm not the final say on whether or not this will be the blend. I have a lot of authority on that. But ultimately, like if I think something's really good and we get together as a team and it's like, this isn't what we think we want to market, then we'll do something else.
Lo primero que ha dicho en su respuesta es que dice que sí. A mí lo que me gusta este hombre es un hombre muy humilde y lo cuenta todo. Entonces, ha dicho que a veces tuvo problemas de ansiedad y de depresión durante su vida y que sí, que a veces ha sentido la propia presión de hacer tabacos que no se vendían, que no salían y decir, ¿qué estoy haciendo mal? Esto lo dejo. Pues esa presión sí la ha tenido también. Y la segunda pregunta que le he hecho que no os he traducido es, ¿alguna vez has tenido la presión de Smoking Pipes o de Cornell Diehl o Smoking Pipes o la Risi en, oye, tu trabajo no está saliendo, tus nuevas mezclas no están vendiendo? Y me ha dicho que no, que siempre le han tratado muy bien y que en ese sentido no.
To answer the second part of your question, while I would love to start my own pipe tobacco brand with FDA regulation, it's already a non-starter. Everything I would produce would be a new product that would all have to be submitted to the FDA for approval, and each one of those would cost me quite a bit of money to do, on top of needing to buy equipment, on top of needing to hire staff. And quite frankly, I really love Cornell Diehl as a brand, and I love the people that I work with, so I don't really want to leave.
That's so honest of you. I really like how humble you are, your honesty. And one of the things I love the most about you, it's again, how humble you are. Every single question any pipe smoker around the world asks you, you always have an answer. You never kept it to yourself. So you're an easygoing to talk with. That's one of the things that I didn't see in many other blenders or many other companies, like sadly for other ones. So I really appreciate that from you. So thank you for your answers.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot to me, David.
Lo que faltó ahí traducir de su última respuesta fue acerca de que por supuesto sí le gustaría crear algo, su propia compañía y todo eso, pero como a todos nos gustaría, dice, pero realmente con las regulaciones de la FDA es prácticamente, no por no decir imposible, necesitaría, dice él, realmente contratar gente, necesitaría mucho todos los implementos, aparte de que necesitaría mucho dinero. Y eso no es necesario, dice, porque lo trata muy bien su compañía, está contento y no lo ve necesario.
Gracias, Pau. De hecho, tiene una pregunta. Adelante, Pau.
Sí, bueno, realmente son ahí varias preguntas, pero bueno, si me podrían ayudar con la primera. Yo quisiera preguntarle qué característica debe de reunir un nuevo blend para poder salir a la venta.
Okay, the question she just said is, if a new blend to be on the market, what features needs to reunite, to have? What features for a new blend?
For a new blend?
Yeah.
We need some sort of way to you mean from a regulatory standpoint, or do you mean from a, like, what do we have to do to create a new blend just as a manufacturing company? Sorry, I want to make sure I'm...
It's more like, what are the minimum prerequisites you need to go through?
But is she asking that from a regulatory, like from the FDA perspective, or just like for us as a company?
It's more like a smoking pipes Cornell Diehl thing from your own standards.
Yes. Okay. There needs to be something that is missing, I guess. We need there to be a blend that belongs somewhere that isn't there, if that makes sense. Like, we've done a whole bunch of small batches, but they've all basically just been straight leaf. And then the idea when I started keeping bees was like, oh, well, what if we used my honey on a blend? That was, you see what I'm saying? So like up to that point, all of the small batch series had just been unflavored, unaugmented tobaccos blended a certain way. But with Sun Bear, it was like, oh, well, here's an interesting thing that we could do that we wouldn't be able to do a whole lot of because of the limited quantity of honey that I've got available, but this would be something that would create a unique product. So that then we need not only a product that has a story, but a product that has a story and that also really tastes good and will probably appeal to a wide group of people. And then we need a blend name. We need a marketing kind of cohesive vision of the story and the blend and the aesthetics, the label. And then we need a production date, and we need a wholesale date, and we need a retail date.
Okay. Hay muchos temas administrativos y de lanzar una marca, pero relativamente a lo que preguntaba la compañera aquí de las características, más bien él comentó que para crear una nueva mezcla sería algo como conseguir algo, él lo mencionó como un ejemplo, algo que está ahí, pero que no hay, por ejemplo, como el caso de la miel. Lo mencionó, que él tenía la miel ahí disponible de las abejas que estaba cuidando, algo así, y que lo transportó a hacer algo. Y realmente es lo que debe de tener. Debe ser atractivo para un grupo de gente, también mencionó, que son cosas que se traen en la mente para hacer una mezcla. Ya de ahí viene lo que es el marketing, vienen otras cosas que son más comerciales, pero en cuanto a las características es eso en esencia.
Ok, mi segunda pregunta es, ¿qué blend cree que pueda trascender en el tiempo o convertirse como un blend legendario?
Okay, the next question is about your blends. What are your blends do you think have do you think will be legendary, transcend, succeed through the years? What of yours?
I mean, I think Carolina Red Flake has shown that the first time we did Carolina Red Flake, we did 2,410s. The next time we made it, we did 4,010s. The next time we made it, we did 6,010s. Then we did 8,010s. Now we do 10,010 batches of Carolina Red Flake. We've done it every year since 2016, and every year it sells out. I don't know if that's legendary status or transcendent, but it's certainly a very, very popular tobacco, and people rush for it.
Ok. Él dice que definitivamente el Carolina Red Flake es un producto que ha mostrado que se ha estado vendiendo muy bien año tras año, de 2,000, 4,000 de estar sacando, y todo el tiempo está agotado. Él no está seguro si va a ser algo que va a trascender o que va a ser catalogado como legendario, no lo sabe, pero en definitiva es algo que es muy popular con la gente y él lo puede ver. Entonces, en definitiva, si la pregunta era esa, él se inclinaría por el Carolina Red Flake.
Ok, mi última pregunta sería, ¿en qué tipo de pipas suele probar sus blends? Y si tiene alguna favorita.
Okay, the final question for the same the lady is, what kind of pipe do you use to try your blends? And if you have one favorite.
One favorite pipe?
Favorite pipe,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So when I'm developing a blend, or when I'm smoking new components, so when I'm smoking tobaccos to try and like figure out if this is something that we want to use in our production, I always use.
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Okay. I always use a clay pipe because they are very, very neutral. Briar has kind of a naturally sweet taste to it and a little bit of an oily taste to it. And so smoking tobacco in Briar, you're getting the taste of the tobacco, but you're also getting the taste of the pipe. With a clay pipe, you don't have that. So there's no static, there's no interference. It's just the tobacco that you're tasting because the clay can't burn at all. So I always use a clay pipe when I'm developing blends. And then when I find something that I like in a clay pipe, then I have a selection of pipes that I really like to smoke in for particular kinds of blends. So depending on the blend style, that will inform which of my pipes I smoke in. I'll smoke in a clay, in a briar, and in a corn cob because I want to experience the blend the way that pipe smokers are going to. And some people smoke briar and some people smoke corn cobs. So that's my methodology. My favorite pipe, again, back to this favorites thing, that's really tough for me. This is one of my dearest pipes that I own. It is a Jeff Allen Graysick Lavat, and it belonged to my friend and coworker Chip Kushner, who passed away sadly a few years ago. And I was able to purchase one of his pipes to help his family out. So it's a very special pipe to me, and it's a pipe that I use for Virginia blends.
Thanks.
Gracias.
Lo que comenta es que las pipas que utiliza cuando está probando tabacos nuevos para hacer una mezcla, pues son las pipas de arcilla, porque las pipas de arcilla proporcionan es una fumada neutra y le permite apreciar todos los aromas y sabores que le ofrece el tabaco sin que interfiera el sabor de la pipa. Menciona que el brezo para hacer ese tipo de ejercicios o estar probando esos tabacos antes de hacer una labor no es muy buena idea para él, porque el brezo aporta un cierto dulzor y cierta sensación oleosa o sabor oleoso al tabaco, entonces interfiere con la labor de estar descubriendo los sabores para poder hacer la mezcla. Una vez que ya con las pipas de arcilla encontró los sabores que quería y la mezcla ya está hecha, la labor ya es un producto final, entonces esa labor sí la fuma en un brezo, la fuma en una pipa de arcilla y la fuma en una pipa de maíz, porque él quiere tener la experiencia que tiene el consumidor final, que va a fumar esa mezcla o en un brezo, o en una arcilla, o en una pipa de maíz. Entonces, él le gusta tener toda esa experiencia. Y dentro de sus pipas favoritas, pues tiene bastantes pipas de brezo. Menciona nuevamente que es una pregunta difícil. Volvemos al tema de que no puede escoger un favorito, pero mostraba la pipa que estaba fumando. Can you say again the brand of that pipe?
Yes, it's J. Allen.
J. Allen, thanks. Esa pipa es una J. Allen y bueno, perteneció a uno de sus amigos que hace un tiempo falleció y bueno, él tuvo la oportunidad de poder adquirir esa pipa a la familia para apoyarlos y también bueno, para tener un recuerdo ahí de una persona que él le tuvo bastante aprecio. Y bueno, Emilio von Klitzin está levantando la mano. ¿Tienes una pregunta, Emilio? Adelante.
Sí, ahí está. ¿Se escucha?
Sí.
Bueno, la voy a hacer en inglés y cualquier cosa después la traducen o lo traduzco, no hay problema. O David o quien sea. Bueno, first of all, I like to give thanks to Alberto and Jeremy for this meeting. And the question for Jeremy is, how do you see the future of the pipe smoking and the industry of the pipe smoking in the future? You see better, you see complications?
I mean, I see pipe smoking growing. I've been working with smoking pipes, and then moved over to Cornell Diehl, but I've been with Ladisi for 7 years. In November, it will be 8 years. Cornell Diehl has grown 86% since 2014. Smoking pipes has had enormous growth in that time frame. And we sell pipes and pipe tobacco all over the world. Our growth indicates to us that there are more pipe smokers, that pipe smokers are just as vibrant and passionate about pipe smoking now as they always have been. So I don't see it crumbling or stopping. There are complications. There's complications posed by the FDA regulations that we have here in the US, but those are not worldwide. There's complications with regulations in the EU, and certain areas that have different packaging constraints and things. But overall, pipe smokers seem to be passionate enough about the product and passionate enough about the hobby. And as I mentioned earlier in this talk, passionate enough about each other that we've continued in spite of regulation. So I think it's good. I think we're growing.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
One many question. How many people work in the factory?
I believe we have 14 people now at Cornell Diehl. When I started with Cnd in 2014, there were 7.
Wow.
So, yeah.
7 at the beginning, and how much right now do you say?
I believe we're at 14.
14, okay.
So the people have doubled, and our output has octupled. Is that the right word? We've grown by like 86%. So
before you translate, you mean only the blending team? 7 to 14, or the whole customer service, etc.?
So no, just for Cornell and Diehl, and we have 3 blenders, and then two processors, so operating cutters and presses and things like that. So we have 3 people that are actually putting together blends, 2 people that are processing those blends or those blending components if they require any further processing. And then we have, I'm not even sure how many people now we have in packaging. 5, and then.
I mean, in some videos I've seen on YouTube that you guys have tours, I've seen at least 4 or 5 packing in the back.
Right, but I think we're at 7 or 8 in packaging, so we may actually be at 16 people now, because then we have 3 people in administration, myself, Matt Johnson, and then our ordering and receiving specialist, Crystal.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of people working in packaging, and then 5 people working in production.
Jesús. No tienes audio, Jesús.
Ajá, tu micro está apagado, Jesús.
Ok. Realmente son ahorita 16. No sé.
Perdón.
Ok. Ya.
No.
Si queréis lo puedo contar yo, si no se te oye.
Por favor, David.
Lo que está diciendo que desde que él empezó en 2014 pasaron de 7 a 14 personas y están subdivididas. Hay 3 blenders, él está como head blender y luego tiene otros 2 que le ayudan. Tiene otras 2 o 3 personas que hacen todo el tema del prensado, de quitarle las hojas y de quitarle los tallos a las hojas y quitarles las ramas. Y luego tienen otras 3, 5 personas. Bueno, antes yo que pensaba que 5, pero ahora tienen hasta 8 personas haciendo el etiquetado, haciendo las latas, haciéndolas al vacío y todo. Entonces cree que son unos 16 ahora, 18 por ahí.
Sí, y en relación a la primera pregunta de Emilio, de cómo ve el futuro de, los pipafumadores, comenta que, bueno,
sí,
si
decía,
se me va algo, me ayudas, David.
Decía que a pesar de las dificultades que hay con todo, cree que todo está subiendo, que sí, que les están poniendo impedimentos y pegas, pero que no, que el tabaco sigue igual, el mundo de la pipa sigue subiendo, hay más gente que compra más, que no cree que vaya a bajar. Y esto es algo que añado yo de otros chats que he estado con él. Alguien le preguntó, oye, ¿y va a desaparecer Cornell Diehl? ¿Va a haber labores que por la FDA después del 2007 van a desaparecer? Y él dijo, no, vamos a seguir haciendo todas las labores.
En resumen, ve crecimiento. Y bueno, tenemos por ahí a Jorge Guilio, que había levantado la mano, pero antes de él, también Pablo Reddy, desde Chile, está preguntando a través de YouTube, ¿cómo fue en referencia a la mezcla Atom-Evening? ¿Cómo fue el proceso? ¿Fue algo metodológico o fue una casualidad? So, from YouTube, there is Pablo Reddy from Chile, and he is asking, related to Atom-Evening, how was the process for getting that tobacco, that blend? Was it something methodological, or it was casuality to get into that blend?
I'm sorry, was it
Atom-Evening?
Was it what?
The Atom-Evening, it was more, you follow like some methodology and then it became the final product, or it was just like a casualty? It happens because it happened, like a luck.
So I didn't develop Atom-Evening. Craig Charla did. Basically, Craig wanted to create an aromatic using his version of the English brown Cavendish, which was made with Virginia. American Cavendish typically is made with Burley, but he wanted to make like a brown Cavendish, and so he bought a steam table, basically like it's a piece of restaurant equipment like you would use to steam crabs in large quantity, and he used that basically to use heat and steam and pressure to treat Virginia, to blacken it and darken it. Well, he decided that tobacco would be really great as an aromatic, and he wanted to create a maple aromatic. So he thought, well, what if we make the Cavendish, but then before we let the Cavendish cool and dry, we add the flavoring while it's still hot. And so, yeah, he was basically experimenting when he developed that blend. It was not an existing methodology. It was him trying to create a particular experience.
I have a question.
David, ¿nos ayudas con la traducción, por favor?
Sí, por supuesto. Lo que estaba diciendo que esta no es una creación suya, fue del creador anterior, del blender anterior, que entonces, él lo que quería hacer era, en base a un Virginia antiguo inglés, creo que ha dicho Capstan, me parece amarillo o de otro color, coger, y la diferencia que hay entre el Cavendish no aromático inglés y el Cavendish aromático inglés es que, perdón, el Cavendish aromático americano es que el inglés se hace con Virginia y el americano con Burley. Entonces, lo que hacían un proceso de vaporización del Burley, ¿vale? Y justo esa vaporización lo que le daba es un sabor dulce, y le echan un condimento o un salseado o no sé qué receta justo cuando el tabaco está caliente todavía, cuando todavía está en el vapor ese. Eso es más o menos lo que ha venido a explicar. Y ahí es como le salió la labor.
Ok, Jorge, adelante con tu pregunta y después tenemos a Gerardo, me parece había comentado algo ahí.
Sí, es sencilla y de principiante, como siempre. ¿Hay alguna combinación de tabacos que nunca haría para un nuevo blend?
Jorge is asking if there is a tobacco blend type or any combination of tobaccos that you could never come up with.
That I would never do. Yes. So I would never, we have two different black Cavendishes. One that is a Dominican black Cavendish. It is made with cigar leaf. And the other is an American black Cavendish that is made with Burley. One of them, the Burley Cavendish, can pretty much work with anything. But the Dominican Cavendish is pretty unique, and it doesn't do particularly well with Latakia. Like the taste of the Cavendish, the Dominican Cavendish, and the taste of Latakia don't meld well together. So I wouldn't tend to put those together. I would never create a blend that was just like bright Virginia and Oriental, because it would be, all your flavor would be sweet and low nicotine, and kind of it would all focus on the tip of your tongue. Those are the only two that I can think of. I'd play with just about any combination of tobaccos together, and I wouldn't I guess I wouldn't say that like I wouldn't use bright and oriental in a blend together. I certainly have, but I wouldn't make a blend that was only bright and oriental. I wouldn't make a blend that was Latakia and that Dominican Cavendish in large quantities together because they don't function well together.
Okay,
Gracias.
Comenta que hay dos tipos de Cavendish. El Cavendish típico que se obtiene a partir del bulleit y un Cavendish que se hace a partir de la hoja de cigarro dominicano. Y en particular, la primera, la versión de Burley con hoja, bueno, la versión de Cavendish con hoja de Burley, se lleva bien prácticamente con cualquier combinación. Entonces, lo puedes combinar con lo que sea. Pero el Cavendish dominicano tiene un sabor muy particular y no se lleva bien, por ejemplo, con el tabaco Latakia. Entonces, ese Cavendish dominicano definitivamente no lo combinaría con Latakia porque te daría un sabor no agradable. Y la otra combinación con la que no trabajaría sería una mezcla a partir de solamente tabacos Virginia y tabacos orientales, ya que ambos son tabacos dulces y de potencia nicotínica muy baja. Entonces sería un tabaco sin potencia nicotínica y con demasiado dulzor que chocaría y no sería una buena combinación. Adelante, Gerardo.
Gracias. Mi pregunta es más de procesos administrativos, bueno, procesos de producción, y es referente a si hay un panel de catado para previo a poder definir si algún producto sale o no sale al mercado. Se lo traduzco en inglés. My question is if is any like a proof panel that you use before, so you can taste your product before a new product before it goes to the market, or if you just decide and just launch it. Is any like panel that you use before going up to the market, or just you?
Yes, there is a group of people that I mean, all within our company, but we have a lot of different kinds of employees. We have a lot of different kinds of pipe smokers, and so I feel like within our company we have a pretty diverse crowd in terms of what they like, what they don't like. And when I'm developing blends, I definitely will choose 4 or 5 of them to say like, here, you know, smoke this, let's see what you think. And then we'll put our heads together about it. So yeah, I'm not making blend decisions in a vacuum. I definitely incorporate the opinions of other people.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And well, Roberto Montiel is asking.
Pero vais a hacer la traducción también de lo que ha dicho Jeremy de esto. Que
pues ahí
lo que le ha preguntado Gerardo era si saca el tabaco así como así. Entonces él ha dicho, no. En el equipo siempre tenemos varios fumadores de pipa que tienen diversos gustos. Entonces, cuando yo saco una cosa, le doy a probar a todos porque quiero ver sus puntos de vista. Y cuando todos estamos de acuerdo un poco, entonces se salga al mercado.
Okay, well, Ricardo Montiel is asking, he's asking for blends that are not from Cornell Diehl. And he is asking, which are your favorite blends, your top 3?
My top 3. Number 1 is Escudo. I absolutely love Escudo. Always will. Not produced by Cornell Diehl. I really love Wessex Campaign. And I really like Stonehaven from Esoterica.
Ok, thanks. Bueno, Escudo, Stonehaven y el otro era Wessex Company.
Wessex Campaign, yes.
How about the Wessex Sovereign?
I do like Wessex Sovereign. It's been a long time since I've been able to find any, but I have a few 10s squirreled away.
To me, it's probably the best one I ever smoked in the last 3 years.
Wow.
To the new, and I probably smoked 400 different blends. It surprised me so much. I got a couple. Bueno, tengo unas preguntas varias. Son de orientales, sobre todo. My questions to you are couple oriental related, okay?
Okay.
One, how much Izmir and Basma you still have to make more Samber? For how many years, of course, or any other blend? But you realize that you probably smoked 20 years ago, like me, over 25. So I realized that before you smoke a blend, and he used to say, oh, this one is Jenish, this one is Basma, this one is Drama, this one is something else. What is happening that they put all the Orientals together and call it Oriental, and you guys cannot put what particular Oriental is on that blend? Is that a regulation? It's because they don't bring you enough tobacco and you have to put it all together, or?
Well, we don't buy Oriental blends. I buy Basma individually. I buy Izmir individually. We have Katerini and Black Sea Sokum, and we have a little bit of Drama. We have oh goodness, drawing a blank right now. We have a number. What's that? Samsung. Yes, thank you. We have a number of Orientals that most of them are from several years ago. Most of them are crop 2005, 2006. The Basma and Izmir are pretty easy to come by. Yanij is very, very difficult. Basically, what's happened is that a lot of the smaller growing regions, there may be farms there still, but not in the quantities that they used to be. Pipe smokers may not realize this, but Oriental tobacco is predominantly grown for the cigarette market. And so as people quit smoking cigarettes, that means that there is less and less demand for the largest consumer of Oriental tobacco. Cigarette products are the largest reason that Oriental tobacco is grown. So as fewer cigarette smokers, that means that there's less justification to grow lots and lots of Oriental leaf. And so what ends up happening is that in a growing region that may have been famous, like Yindij, and had a lot of farmers in that area producing Yindij, now there may be one or two, and it's not enough to supply anybody. And so it ends up getting consolidated into, you know, this sort of mass market version of an Oriental blend.
And called Turkish, right? That's what I asked.
Yes, just called Turkish, right?
Do you guys, you know, I'm a big fan of Mark Ryan about Ashma to make my own blends.
Yes.
And Macedonian, Izmir here. Do you guys bought them straight from these Turkeys, Macedonia, Greece, or you get them through Mark Ryan?
Neither. We buy them through a broker who has relationships with farmers in Turkey and in Greece.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to translate. So, lo que le he preguntado, porque yo soy muy interesado de los orientales, es ¿qué ha pasado estos últimos 15, 20 años? Que antiguamente cada labor decía, por ejemplo, el Balkan Sobrani tenía Jenish y lo decía, en la labor decía, lleva Jenish. McClellan hacía Jenish, Drama, Samsung, cualquiera. Y le he dicho, ¿qué está pasando ahora que ya no te dice, en las latas veis que pone Virginia el ataque a oriental? Digo, ¿por qué no especifican qué oriental lleva? Y me ha dicho que ya no lo pueden. Antiguamente los orientales sobre todo se hacían para cigarrillos. Y como el mercado del cigarrillo ha bajado, los productores de esas hojas orientales ya no venden tanto, entonces son pequeños granjeros que hacen una proporción muy ínfima y muy pequeña para poder vender al mundo de la pipa. Entonces, él dice que sí tienen, por ejemplo, Basma y Drama tienen alguno de Izmir. Esos pueden ser más fáciles de encontrar. El Yenis es prácticamente imposible. Entonces, por eso no pueden comprar lo suficiente como para hacer muchas labores que lleven orientales. Entonces, lo que hacen muchos granjeros es, pues, juntan todas esas hojas distintas de orientales, las juntan todas y es lo que le llaman el tabaco turco o turquís que habéis visto ahora. Entonces, desgraciadamente ya no se está haciendo así. Pero ellos aún tienen algunas hojas antiguas de eso.
Ok, muy relacionado con ese tema, ya que mencionan la baja en la demanda de tabaco oriental. Supongo que se hace más difícil la importación, sumado tanto la baja en la demanda como las regulaciones de la FDA. ¿Qué tan difícil o qué tanto ha dificultado eso en la importación? Y en el tabaco que se produce localmente, como Burley y Virginia, ahí también por los mismos temas, supongo que también los productores han bajado la cantidad de cosechas que hacen al año. Entonces, eso también, ¿qué tanto ha dificultado? Y por último, en la exportación, que también, ¿qué tan difícil ha sido exportar el tabaco desde Estados Unidos hacia otros países? So what I am asking is, now that you mentioned that lack of demand on Oriental tobaccos, adding the FDA regulations, how hard has it become the importation of those tobaccos? And also what happened with the tobaccos that are produced locally as Virginia and Burley? I guess farmers are decreasing the production of those tobaccos. So how is that difficulting the production of your blends? And also, what are the difficulties that you are facing towards exporting tobacco to other countries?
Export is, in some ways, I think, easier. Exportation of tobacco is in some ways easier with the declining Oriental crop. It is, I'm working years ahead sourcing tobacco. Like I'm literally speaking up for way more than we need right now because I'm planning for the future. The way that declining smoking is affecting locally grown crops like Virginia and Burley, it's definitely declining, but you've still got hundreds of millions of pounds of Virginia grown in the United States every year. You've still got 80 million pounds roughly of Burley grown in the US every year. And then Brazil is a massive Virginia market. Africa is also a massive Virginia market and a massive Burley market. Guatemala is a massive Burley market as well. So while there is decline here in the US, we're still talking about globally volumes of good quality Virginia or flue cured and Burley or air cured leaf. And as a pipe tobacco manufacturer, we just don't need that much tobacco. What to us is enough red Virginia to get through the next 2 years would a cigarette manufacturer would use up that quantity in 2 days. So we are really, really tiny compared to these much larger companies. And so even though the overall crops are in decline, that doesn't mean that there's not still enough for me to be able to find what I want. It's tougher with Oriental though.
Thanks. Now that you mentioned that stock, well, I'm going to translate what you just said, but the next question could be, now that you mentioned the stock that you have or you're building with Orientals, are you doing the same with Perique? Because Perique is something that we are afraid is going to disappear soon in a couple of years. Let me translate what you just said. Bueno, lo que me contestó fue básicamente la exportación es muchísimo más fácil, no hay mucha complicación en exportar el tabaco de Estados Unidos hacia otros países, en particular las mezclas que elaboran. En cuanto a los tabacos orientales, pues sí, si bien hay dificultades, él se está previniendo y está, digamos, armando un stock importante, haciendo búsquedas de diferentes fuentes donde pueda obtener tabacos orientales para prevenir a futuro y tener un stock lo bastante grande para poder trabajar con ese stock y no tener problemas a futuro. En cuanto a la producción de tabacos locales como el Virginia y el Burley, si bien sí ha decrementado los productores locales, aún así se siguen cosechando pues una cantidad importante que de hecho supera por mucho la cantidad que ellos utilizan como empresa tabacalera. Entonces a ellos no les ha impactado tanto eso, pero la industria cigarrera pues sí, aunque siguen produciéndose alrededor de 100 millones de libras de tabaco Virginia por año y 80 millones de libras de tabaco Burley por año. Entonces, no hay, si bien sí se ha visto el decremento, no hay tanto problema. Y la ventaja es que en esos tabacos en particular, pues hay otros países como Brasil, Guatemala, África y otro más que mencionó por ahí, que están produciendo también esos tabacos, entonces no habría como que en un corto o mediano plazo un problema muy grande con ese tipo de tabacos. Y la siguiente pregunta que le hice fue relacionada al tabaco perique, que bueno, creo que ahí todos estamos conscientes de que el perique puede desaparecer de un momento a otro. So if you could please go on with that question, please, that answer.
About Perique?
About Perique, yes.
Yes. So with Perique, with Latakia, even with things that we don't have difficulty getting, like Virginia and Burley, I am always thinking years in the future. So we're always building stock so that we don't find ourselves without, because the question is not, the question is not, will there ever come a time where we can't get this or that thing? The question is, when will that time be?
Thanks.
And how long will it last?
Thanks a lot. Lo que comenta es muy importante. Él siempre está previniendo a futuro y siempre está buscando esos tabacos, no solamente periques, sino los Virginias, los Borleys, los Latakias, para ir construyendo ese stock y tener ahí pues bastante tabaco almacenado para poder trabajar a futuro. Comenta algo que es muy cierto, que la pregunta no sería si algún día van a dejar de producirse esos tabacos, sino que más bien la pregunta sería cuándo se van a dejar de producir esos tabacos, porque pues eso es algo que va a suceder muy pronto, ¿no? No sé si alguien más tiene alguna pregunta o... Ajá. Por acá tengo una de YouTube.
Sí, una de YouTube, pero déjame...
Adelante.
Si tiene algún Master Blender que él piense que es un ejemplo a seguir o que él admire bastante. Do you have a Master Blender that you think is an example to follow or that you admire? Mike?
Yeah, I think that I think that there have been a lot. I think that Charles Rattray was an incredible experimenter. I think that Greg Pease has taught me a lot in terms of methodology and approach to blend development. I think that Craig was not a skilled blender the way that Greg is. You know, Greg Pease worked at Drukers and Sons in Berkeley and worked developing their blends, you know, blending their blends for customers, and that's the way that he learned how to blend. He kind of got an apprenticeship almost. Craig Tarler was just a pipe smoker who retired and decided, I want to start a business making pipe tobacco. So where Greg had a lot of like input and methodology that he was familiar with, Craig was just making it up as he went along. And I think that I'm kind of in the middle of those two men. Yeah, I have a lot of other skills that I kind of draw upon and experiences that I reference when I'm working in my current capacity as head blender. I have some process knowledge and some process skill, but I also am doing an awful lot of experimentation and flying by the seat of my pants. So I would say I'm kind of in between Craig Tarler and Greg Pease in terms of my approach. But I've learned a lot from everyone that I get to talk to that has any experience blending tobacco.
Who was mentioned? The first one you mentioned?
Rattray.
Yes, Charles Rattray.
Ok, thanks. Bueno, menciona que Charles, el apellido se me fue, David.
Charles Rattray, el de los tabacos amarillos.
Ok, bueno, él, que era una persona que le gustaba mucho experimentar con los tabacos y las mezclas que creaba. El otro que también admira es GLPs, que es una persona muy metódica, muy de procesos. Y Greg Toller, que es su predecesor en Cornell Diehl, que él era más un fumador que hacía, bueno, que al retirarse de su trabajo, pues decidió hacer ahí algunas mezclas y se empezó a experimentar y a jugar con su paladar hasta que encontró las mezclas que quería. Y él considera que él se sitúa justo en el medio entre GLPs y Greg Toller. Menciona que tiene algunas cualidades de ambos y otras cualidades propias que lo hacen pensar a él que se sitúa justo en medio de ellos dos. Y bueno, por acá hay una pregunta en YouTube. Preguntan si ha hecho una mezcla que haya resultado más de lo que esperaba. So a guy from YouTube is asking if you had ever blend or created a blend which resulted in or had a better result than the one that you expected to have.
Had a better result than I expected?
Yes.
Yeah. So several of them maybe. So when we first started experimenting with the idea of small batch as a brand, previous to that, I mean, Cnd makes everything in small batches, so that was kind of the impetus for the reason we thought, you know, small batch, like, here's a limited edition small batch product, maybe that had legs. So the first one was straight up English. That's what it was called, was straight up English. And it was basically a blend that I put together for myself that I thought was a perfect all-day Latakia blend. I tend to prefer small quantities of Latakia, but I also like some nicotine, and typically English blends don't have a lot. And so I included a little bit of burley to kind of kick that up. We made 400 tins and it lasted 45 minutes. It was like 400 tins sold in 45 minutes. So we thought, you know, maybe this would last a few days. And yeah, 400 tins was gone in 45 minutes. So that's how we knew the small batch thing would work, and that people were interested. So yeah, that was a result that blew us away. Certainly blew me away.
Thanks. Comenta que probablemente muchas mezclas han resultado mejor de lo que él esperaba, pero particularmente la marca de Small Batch, como tal, Small Batch como marca, cuando empezaron, comenta que todo Cornell Diehl se hace en Small Batch, ¿no? En producciones pequeñas, pero particularmente una que se llama Straight English, que sería inglés directo. Y esa mezcla, bueno, él quería hacer una mezcla, le gustaban de las mezclas inglesas que no había como mucha potencia nicotínica, pero le quiso añadir un poquito de ahí, metiéndole un poco de burley, y esa mezcla en particular se vendieron 400 latas en 45 minutos, entonces eso fue una forma de medir el éxito que tenían, y bueno, en particular esa mezcla o esa labor, Straight English, es una de las que él considera que resultó o dio un resultado mejor de lo que ellos esperaban. Y Jorge Guidio está por acá levantando la mano. Adelante, Jorge.
Sí, ¿qué tanta cantidad de mezclas tiene en proceso diariamente para probar los resultados?
How many blends do you have in your daily basis to be trying and reviewing before sending it to the market?
How many blends will I smoke in a day? Or I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
He's asking how many blends do you guys normally do in production on a daily basis?
How many do we? I mean, per day, we could handle anywhere from 4 to 20 products. It just depends on the volume of those products that we need to make. And so if we're making a lot of something, we're not going to be able to make very many different products because we're probably using 3 or 4 different stations to create this one or 2 or 3 products. But sometimes we need a whole bunch of blends in 25 to 50 pound runs. And so in that instance, we would probably be able to get through, roughly 20 blends between our 3 blenders in a day, I would guess.
Ok, depende mucho del tamaño de la producción, pero normalmente entre 4 y 20 labores por día. Y depende del tamaño de la producción. Si la producción es muy grande, pues no les daría tiempo de hacer muchas producciones. Entonces, si es lo suficientemente grande, harían alrededor de 4 mezclas. Si no es mucha la proporción de cada mezcla, podrían ser hasta 20. David, tenías más preguntas, creo.
No, iba a hacer una acorde a lo que ha preguntado Jorge. I was going to make one according to what Jorge said. So do you guys make these blends, doesn't matter, 4 or 14 different blends per day, according to the sales needed or demand? Or you decide, hey, we haven't made Union Square in 7 months, let's make more today?
All of our production is organized based on either order needs from our distributor or on orders that we have from distributors in other countries. So if we've got a distributor in another country that's placed an order, then we've got a specific ship date timeline, and everything on the order has to be ready by this one date. With our distributor that's part of our own company, it's just a different part of our own company. They are constantly feeding us an ever updating order, and we are making the things that they need the most, or that they need the largest quantity of, so that we can basically make our goals and keep our products in stock.
Pretty much after all these many years making it, you pretty much know how much proportion you need to do weekly based on all the things you've been doing, correct?
It's always changing, because we have to organize labor, around, you know, I mean, if we have a particular leaf type that is delayed in shipment to us, then everything that calls for that leaf, we have to kind of set off by the wayside. We have to organize labor around who's available and what things we have going on. I mean, it's always a circus.
So too many variables. That's the reason.
Yeah.
Depending on that you make. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. There's many different.
Lo que está diciendo es, le he preguntado, ¿pero las hacéis así de aquella manera? O, por ejemplo, bueno, pues hoy tenemos, por ejemplo, mucho Caterini, pues vamos a hacer las 7 labores que llevan Caterini. Me ha dicho, principalmente lo hacen debido a la distribución, porque no sé si sabéis que Smoking Pipes también tiene otra compañía, otra distribución en Irlanda o en Inglaterra. Entonces, dependiendo de la distribución que les piden a través del mundo, le dicen, oye, para el día 27 de este mes tenemos que hacer un pedido de todas estas latas. Pues esas son las que preparan primero. Y otros días lo hacen, suele ser variable dependiendo también de la cantidad de hoja que les ha llegado. Si, por ejemplo, quieren hacer por lo mismo el Caterini, pero no tienen Caterini, pues esas labores que lo llevan, pues no las ponen. O sea que más o menos está distribuido. Entonces, lo siguiente que le he preguntado es, ¿y lo hacéis en función de, como ya lleváis muchos años haciéndolo, tenéis más o menos ya estipulado un poco los parámetros, ¿no? He dicho sí, salvo alguna cosita esporádica que queramos hacer esto y no tengamos la hoja.
Sí, gracias. Jorge.
Sí, en realidad mi pregunta anterior iba más orientada a la inventiva, es decir, ¿cuántas mezclas nuevas procesa diariamente? Es decir, ¿cuántas tiene en desarrollo para probar? Es decir, ¿prueba una mezcla nueva por vez o cuántas? Para tener una idea del proceso creativo, ¿no?
Dale, Carlos.
Okay. He was referring that, well, in his previous question, what he refers or what he meant was when we are developing a new blend, do you focus only on one blend, in that blend that you are developing, or you have like several ideas from different blends that you can work on with that tobacco that you have on the table?
Oh, I see. If I'm working on developing a blend, I'm pretty singularly focused on getting that blend right. So I will make up several different versions usually of the blend. And then I try and not smoke very, very much. I try and make make the blend that I'm developing the first smoke of the day, and I'll try different versions each day, and then try and find what I think works best between the versions, and then I'll sit down and smoke them against one another. But I won't do that more than once either, where I'm smoking one blend and then another version of the blend back and forth between two pipes. I'll choose one between those two, and then if I've got more versions, I'll take the one that I chose against another one, but I won't do that more than once in a day.
I think what he was saying too, it's when you have something in mind, you have 6 or 7 things in mind. For example, in my end 7 years ago, do you have Pegasus in mind and Sunbird at the same time and BU? Or you only focus on Sunbird, 35 versions of Sunbird? When you're done with this, you move into Pegasus.
That's right. That's right. I am singularly focused on one blend at a time.
Okay. Lo que está diciendo que él hace, por ejemplo, aunque en la cabeza tenga 7 labores diferentes para hacer, él solo se focaliza en una. Sí, la que sea, pero una. Y entonces, como de esa misma labor hasta que sacan el producto final suele haber como 3, 4, 5 subversiones, se prueba esas 5 versiones de una sola labor que va a sacar y la fuma. Ahora me fumo la versión 1, luego la 4, luego vuelvo a la 3, luego tal, pero siempre es una sola labor. No fuma 3 o 4 labores que va a sacar a la vez. Eso es lo primero que ha dicho de una de ellas. Y luego de la segunda ha dicho que por la mañana le gusta fumar una de las primeras labores porque normalmente el paladar siempre está más limpio. No lo ha dicho así, pero es la explicación que quiere decir, que el paladar lo tiene más limpio. Entonces, y lo que no hace nunca es, como muchos de nosotros al probar, que cogemos dos pipas, él coge pipas de arcilla, pero imaginaros que coge 2 pipas de arcilla a la vez. Lo que no hace se pone en esta la versión 1 y en esta la versión 2 y las fuma constantemente. No, fuma la 1 y a las 4 horas se fuma la 3 y así y así.
Sí, lo que mencionaba también es que no fuma más de 2 versiones o sea, en el tabaco que se está enfocando, no lo fuma más de 2 veces al día, es decir, tiene 2 versiones de esa misma labor que va a sacar y fuma una por la mañana, la otra la fuma por la tarde y ya, no fuma más de eso. Al siguiente día, de esas 2, la que haya ganado o la que él seleccionó, la va a comparar con alguna otra versión, pero el día siguiente, nunca más de 2 fumadas en un solo día. Y bueno, hay muchas marcas de tabaco y en muchas, como en otros productos como los vinos, las cervezas o los destilados, pues cuando logran ya cierta calidad, es difícil mantener la consistencia de ese producto, sobre todo porque son productos naturales que dependen de la tierra y año con año pues, la cosecha va cambiando. ¿Qué tan difícil es mantener la consistencia de los tabacos que ya son bien conocidos, como los tabacos de GLPs o tabacos como el BYO, etcétera? So what I am asking is or I'm saying that there are a lot of brands, not only from tobacco, but also from other products such as wine, whiskey, or beer, that when they reach a high quality standard, it is really, really difficult to stay in there, to get that consistency through the years. Because talking about tobacco, well, each year the earth is changing, so every batch is getting different. So how difficult is to get or to keep that consistency in high quality from the blends that you have?
It does require a lot of work. It requires a lot of energy and basically, like I was talking about before, that I'm always trying to make sure that we have plenty of stock of particular leaf. It's because I want to have many years between having to change crops so that I have plenty of tobacco from the current crop that we're using to be able to begin incorporating a crop that we're transitioning into to keep things consistent. So by making that transition incrementally, the overall experience of the change is slower. It's not like we run out of this and immediately switch to this. It's more like 2 years from now, we'll run out of this. So we begin incorporating the replacement tobacco so that by the time we're transitioned fully into using it, that transition has been fairly seamless. And I always am trying to find tobaccos that have similar chemistries, nicotine and sugar, similar color, similar overall flavor profile and palate. But that's not to say that if I find something that is different, but is delicious or in some way, special or compelling, I'll still source it because we can use it. We can use it to make our products better than we feel they already are.
Okay, thanks. Well, lo que comenta es que es muy difícil mantener la consistencia y precisamente por eso ellos en Cornell Diehl tienen ese stock tan grande de los tabacos con los que actualmente hacen sus mezclas, que sería muy fácil perder esa consistencia si dejan que ese tabaco se agote y después meten el tabaco que lo va a sustituir. Ahí sería muy, muy fácil darse cuenta de la no consistencia de esa mezcla. Entonces lo que hacen es, con ese gran stock que tienen, ellos van previendo a futuro y ya saben que si en ese lote en particular se va a agotar en un par de años, Entonces, desde ya empiezan a buscar tabacos que sean similares en química, similares en potencia nicotínica, que tengan características muy similares al stock que ellos ya tienen, y entonces empiezan a mezclar con mucha anticipación el stock que ya tienen con el tabaco nuevo que lo va a reemplazar, para hacer una transición más suave, más fluida, y poco a poco irse acostumbrando a ese nuevo tabaco que va a llegar. Entonces, de esa forma es en la que mantienen la consistencia en la calidad de sus tabacos. No sé si alguien más tiene alguna pregunta.
Sí. ¿Pensaste en algún momento que serías un master blender famoso cuando iniciaste en esto? Did you ever think that you will be a famous master blender when you started in this?
Did I ever think I would be famous?
Yeah.
Or do I ever think I will be famous?
Yeah. If you think
I don't think of myself as being famous at all. Yeah, it is it's nothing short of mind-boggling to me that there are people who recognize my face that I have never met. But I certainly don't think of myself as being famous really outside of what truly is a small niche industry. I'm grateful that people like what we do and that they know about me, but I don't think of myself as being famous. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy that has.
I told you earlier. It's like one of the best characteristics of yourself is how humble you are. You're down to earth to everybody that talks to you, and I've seen it here in Columbus, in Chicago, probably in Europe. Everybody consider you like that, and that's the best quality you have. All the time, of course, your blend.
Thank you.
And that talks really
true.
Good things about you, because, for instance, you have been standing here for 2 hours and a half with a bunch of unknown people for you, and you are here talking to us in a very smooth and nice way. We think that. So I'm going to translate what you just said. Comenta que él no se considera una persona famosa, si bien sí es consciente de que hay mucha gente que él no conoce, que lo reconoce y que lo conoce por su trabajo, pues realmente ese grupo de personas pues es muy reducido, porque es solamente el ambiente de la pipa el que lo conoce, pero más allá de eso pues es una persona normal, común y corriente, y no se considera que sea una persona famosa, más bien se considera como una persona más, un fumador más, que pues así se considera él. Y lo que comenta David, le reconoce la humildad que tiene, y lo mismo es lo que le comentaba, y eso habla muy bien de él, porque el estar aquí en una charla de más de ya 2 horas y media, vamos para 3 horas, y con un montón de desconocidos, y hablando sobre tabaco y abriéndose de la forma en que lo hace, pues habla muy, muy bien de él.
Y una cosa que querría añadir, este señor nunca va a decir, venga ya, ¿me puedo ir ya? Nunca lo va a decir, entonces a lo mejor deberíamos parar de preguntarle, porque igual tiene que hacer otras cosas. Es tan educado que jamás te dirá, venga, hasta aquí me voy. Os lo digo a los que sois los jefes de esto.
De hecho, yo ya había comentado por ahí en privado que no hay más preguntas por mi parte.
Adelante, pues. Cierra la despedida.
Well, there are no more questions from our side, so we are glad you accepted the invitation to be here at Viva Club. By the way, Viva means tobacco in Yaqui language, which is a Indian tribu. It's situated at the north part of Mexico, in the state of Sonora. So we're really glad you accepted our invitation. We want to thank you. We all want to thank you for being such a humble person, for all the time you share with us in here today. So we send you a really big hug. We give you our best wishes to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you asking me to join you this evening. And thanks to everyone who asked questions, and thanks to everyone who was patient with me with translation. and I'm grateful and definitely recognize the skill involved for all of you that were able to take my ramblings and translate it into another language and and be able to think in both of those languages for both audiences. I really appreciate all of the help getting what I was saying across to everyone. So thank you so much, guys.
Since you're a challenge guy, next time we have a conversation with you, you better improve your Spanish. You can do it perfect. That's your new challenge.
Okay.
Now, one last question I have, and it's not related to anything. Are you going to Columbus next month?
I'm not going to Columbus, but I will be at Richmond.
Richmond, okay.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to the Vegas show as well.
Vegas. And do you know if the Muletown, are they doing it again? Because it was amazing.
I haven't heard anything about Muletown thus far, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Thanks again for your time and
sharing
everything over and over and over.
Thank you so much, David.
Yeah, hope to see you.
Manuel Arteaga wanted to thank you, I guess, because he was raising his hand. Manuel?
What's that?
No, I guess no. Someone was raising the hand. So, well, here we have like a tradition. So after each talk, at the very end, we stop the YouTube transmission and we stay here. We open all microphones so that everybody can talk with each other. So if you want to stay, you are invited. If you have other things to do, we really thank you for being here, for all the patience you show to us. And thanks again for your sharing. And I don't know if Alberto wants to say something.
Pues muchas gracias a todos por haber estado acá. Gracias a las personas que estuvieron acompañándonos en YouTube. Thank you very much to be here. And gracias a todos. Entonces, pues cortamos las misiones. Nos vemos en las próximas transmisiones. Síganos en Viva Club México, en el grupo Viva Club en Instagram y Viva Club en YouTube. Pues damos transmisiones y muchísimas gracias.
Chicos, y una cosa, si queréis mandarle un tabaco de gracias de vuestros tabacos para que lo pruebe, si queréis me los podéis mandar y yo encantado se los envío a él o se los doy en mano, si os parece.
Gracias.
Creo que sigues transmitiendo en YouTube.
Listo.